So for this particular episode, I decided to change things up and do an interview with Mr. Thabit Ukta, an experienced haberdasher and personal outfitter with more than 15 years experience in the men's bespoke suiting arena, well respected, hailing from New York City, currently based in Atlanta. So if you could just give a little bit of background, and then I'd love to jump into some question and answers.
Well, thank you for coming out today.
Oh, thank you for having me.
I'm enjoying the company, and hopefully you're enjoying Atlanta, Georgia.
No, I am. I always love Atlanta.
Wonderful. My name is Mr. Thabit Ukta. I'm a fashion consultant and wardrobe organizer out of Brooklyn, New York. Started out in the haberdashery and bespoke men's suiting business as a youth, around 17 or 18 years old of age, and started out by sweeping the floors in the shops. One of my first jobs, graduating high school, was a clothing company by the name of Dewar Brothers. It was a black-owned business.
Nice.
We had British influenced tailors that were Caribbean, and they've been in the business for a long time, cutting and sewing suits. I was a young guy in the business. I was the apprentice that had a lot of energy, so I wanted to learn more, and I put myself in that environment to succeed in that.
How would you describe your suiting style?
Well, suiting style would probably say more influential of the 1930s.
Okay. When you say 1930s, is that Americana? Is that Italian? Is that British? Is that a fusion?
Well, let me just explain it to you. See, so there's different schools, of course.
Okay.
That people choose as choices for as their suit selection. However, I'm more so prone to the British American.
So it's a combination between the two.
I would say combination because most of the clothes were influenced by the British military.
Interesting. Okay.
So probably around the 1920s or 30s, I would say that was the golden age, the golden gate period where men and women, they dressed very well. And it was very influential in the Hollywood industry that time period. For instance, people like, Fred Astaire, We have people like, Edward G. Robinson, which was one of my favorites. He was a big guy. Nonetheless, he dressed really well.
Yes.
Cary Grant. And then, of course, my favorite musician of all time, Duke Ellington.
Okay.
One of the greats. I would say has been a major influence on my dress style and selection. So, yeah, it was more so, smooth, I would say, smooth fabric selections. I would say, nice silhouette around the waist, hourglass shape, really good rope and shoulder jackets and full cut trousers. I never did really well with slim fitting because of I would say, the portion of my body.
So you're saying build?
Yes, the build of the body type. So there's multiple body types, and when one is selecting a suit, he should always remember his body type or style. Some people, for instance, they like to go and purchase a suit that's slim fitting, and it may not work for them because their body type is more of I would say, a fuller build than an athletic build in a slimmer, line. Myself, I would be probably under the category of athletic build, so that would, allow for me to have a little bit more fullness in my trousers. With a slim fitting suit, people wear low-rise trousers, and so they like that new Euro look, which is pretty much like the new ideal suit, but it's something that goes in and out. If you notice, it started in the 60s, and then later on down the line it came back.
So what would be your most important advice about the gentleman's suit?
Well, the gentleman's suit, I would say universally around the world, regardless of what country, what school of thought, most important is that one should always keep at least 2 suits, and those tones would be the gray, which is universal, within the navy blue suit. Why? Well, the reason being is because the gray suit is a neutral color, for one. It works well with pretty much every tone, so therefore you can wear your white shirt, you can wear your blue shirts, your pinks, and many variations. As I'm seeing you today looking very debonair, and I love the tie here, by the way.
Yeah, this is a Jan J piece.
Oh, really nice. Very nice. Very nice Jan J piece. But nonetheless, you're wearing a beautiful gray flannel suit, which is, ideal for this time of the year. The weight is very nice, really well constructed lapels.
So you're saying a gray like this and a blue? would be your most important advice for the gentleman.
Yes, as you can notice, I'm wearing a pin dot stripe, you know, with the peak lapel. I like peak. It gives you a little bit more of a longer torso. And also, for taller guys, it gives them that, you know, more clean line finish. You see? So it's very important for me, you know, to select these two tones. And then going back to actually the flexibility of the actual wardrobe with a gray and a navy blue suit, you're wearing them with various amounts of different shoe selections. For instance, different tones, like your blacks you can wear with the gray.
So let me stop you right there.
Okay.
Because you said gray and you said blue for suits, but I
Yeah.
see a lot of men wear black suits. So
Sure.
how come black's not in there when typically black is the go-to color?
Well, black isn't the real go-to. Black is pretty much the last of the actual most selected suits. You know, gray would be your black and your blue.
Okay.
What does that mean? Well, you can wear it in multiple different ways that you won't be able to wear a black suit. So when you're wearing a black suit, you're typically wearing black shoes,
Oh, okay.
a white shirt.
I'm asking you though.
Yes.
So black is more formal because I go to a lot of events and a lot of conferences and I see men wearing black all the time. You're saying gray and blue, and I just wanted to I guess press you for the point of like,
Sure.
what do you consider black then?
Okay. Well, I would say this. Normally, men that tend to go for black suits.
Okay.
They're typically playing it safe.
Got it.
So a lot of my students. they
So
come
you
out
wouldn't
like
say
that.
it's formal. You wouldn't say that black is particularly formal.
Well, it can be formal,
Okay.
of course, and it is a formal color that is worn for formal outings. Yes, I would say so.
Oh, so that would be like tuxedo, a black tie event, right?
Correct. With the black suit, think about one thing.
Yeah.
This is what I think about. If I'm not able to wear a suit with at least 3 tones of shoes, meaning your black, brown, and your maybe burgundy,
Got it.
then I'm not able to really get flexibility out of that suit.
Oh, okay, I see.
So when you're wearing a black suit, you're typically wearing a black shoe.
Got it.
That's a traditional way of doing it, and those are some do's and don'ts as well.
So, what's a common mistake that men make with their shoes?
Shoes. Most common mistake that
Yeah.
I've noticed is that they buy the most indiscreet shoe for a beautiful suit,
Huh.
which ruins the whole ensemble.
So what would you say, like a discreet? Like what would you define that as, or give an example? So
A discreet shoe would be a very nice, clean line shoe that fits the actual trouser very well.
how important is a good tie?
Wow, good question. Another good question. I would probably say one of the most important articles of clothing would be your tie, because it's the focal point of the suit.
Jan J. What's the focal point? So you're saying that like that's what everyone.
Focuses on after they look at you and see how very well dressed you are. That tie is important. Not only the tie that you select, but also the finishing point. I'm noticing that you have a dimple in your tie.
Yeah.
And this takes some time to really perfect this
Yeah,
ongoingly. And
If I could ask about your tie, you have a knit tie, right? A square bottom knit tie. So,
Sure.
like, when would someone wear this, or like, what kind of occasion, particular season?
sure.
It's a beautiful tie.
Thank you. Well,
It's Jan J as well. I like it.
yes, it is. It's a very nice J&J tie. This tie right here, I would probably say would be traditionally worn more so towards the spring months.
Got it.
Okay, traditionally, I live in Atlanta, and the climate is pretty good all year round.
Okay.
I'm getting three season, springtime, weather.
Okay.
We have short winters, so I typically kind of go into a knit. I like it. It's more of an Italian style tie.
Interesting. Okay.
Very cool, and it has a really good, I guess, texture to it. Go ahead.
Something I tend to find is like people getting the width of the tie incorrect. So if you can elaborate, like the
Sure.
importance of the width of the tie.
Well, the importance of the width of the tie, it's all resulted to the lapels of this sports jacket.
Okay.
Okay, let's just take a look at it. I'll do a little demonstration for you. Let's check the width of this lapel out. So we'll go on the top of the lapel here, and we notice that we got about 3 inches and 3/4 of width.
Okay.
So this necktie, by looking at it, I would say on average is around 3 inches in width.
Okay.
Now that works well because the lapel and the necktie should kind of be around the same width. Now the lapel, I will always say, be slightly larger than the actual necktie, slightly
Okay.
larger. Okay? Now, if this lapel happened to be a slimmer line lapel, then I would say go more slim line on the necktie.
Got it.
So if it was, for instance, a 3-inch lapel, then you go maybe, say, 2 inches and a quarter, you know, or 2 inches, I would say.
So when I mentioned the word accessories for a man's suit, like what's the first thing that comes to your mind?
Accessories for a men's suit, of course, is a tie and a pocket square.
Okay.
Okay. Those are the most important focal points of the suit that are being shown on the canvas of the suit. Okay. So your shoes, of course, is the finishing touch. However, when one is being presented, you know, he is being watched from the waist, well, from the torso down.
Okay.
And then back up.
I see.
Okay. And then what I see typically gentlemen, you know, wearing good ties are always at the end. Check for the pocket square to see if they're wearing a pocket square in the breast pocket.
So would the pocket square typically be the same color, the same style? Is it the same fabric? Like, what do you advise?
Well, some of my advice with this would be to just feed off some of the tones between the shirt or the tie. Not necessarily trying to match them perfectly together.
Okay.
But as long as the tone is around the same tone of some of the patterns in the necktie, for instance, with this beautiful pocket square you're wearing by Jan J and this tie that you have here, I'm noticing that you put this pocket square in the fold with this, you know, beautiful, you know, folded print, you know, tie. I would say you're doing a very good job of contrasting because this is not a perfect tone on tone match, but it works well with the tone.
So this is like sort of like bending the rules. Once you know the rules, you can bend the rules.
Well, I wouldn't necessarily call this bending. This is just called following the rules. This is a proper protocol dress. Okay. Okay.
So what would you say about socks, men's socks? Would that be considered part of an accessories, or that really doesn't come to your mind?
Well, hosiery is, of course, an importance.
Okay.
Of course. It's a garment, you know, you wear it, and you want to make sure whatever you're wearing, it has some benefit to what you're dressing. Well, let me ask you a question. You travel all over the world. Okay. What are some of your views on the most overlooked items in men's fashion?
Okay. Well, the most overlooked item, I would say, is the men's shoe. In so many conferences and events that I go to, men are wearing beautiful Hugo Boss, I mean, off the rack, really nice suits.
Sure.
But when it comes down to the shoes, it's like, what's going on here? So I can see a sea of men, and a lot of them are wearing good suits because I think being, you know, dressed well for men now is coming into fashion.
True.
But then whenever I look at the shoes, it's like lackluster, and I see that as probably the most overlooked item for the men's suit.
Yeah, that's correct. Yeah. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you for tuning in, and we'll see you next time, okay? Peace.